Welcome back, guys, to my 9th installment of my top 10 players of 2017, and you're not going blind. Your eyes do not deceive you. Yes, I do have Turbopolsa at number 2, not number 1, as I'm sure a lot of you guys had, and I'll hopefully be able to explain why in this video, and indeed in my next video, which will be my video about my number 1 player of the year, who I'm sure by now a lot of you will have been able to guess, if not everybody. But very, very briefly, I'll mention the results that are unique to Turbopolsa compared to his now teammate Violent Panda, who I made a video about yesterday. And if you want to see all of the results that Violent Panda and Turbo shared throughout the year, check out that video. I do have 5 other results to speak of which separate the Violent Panda and Turbo, and they are, of course, the RLCS Season 3 LAN results. And before I do that, the other thing that is worth mentioning is that Violent Panda did actually have a bigger part to play in RLCS Season 3 group stage than Turbo did. Turbo didn't play any games, as far as I can remember, in the RLCS Season 3 group stage or playoffs. He showed up at the LAN, and that is where he started to perform in Maestro's place back then for Northern Gaming. He was the substitute player for Northern Gaming alongside Devo and Remco were his teammates for the LAN. But Maestro, if anybody is not aware, was not able to go to the LAN because he had school, he had exams, and that's why they had Turbopolsa, a very, very talented substitute, to come and step in and try and fill Maestro's shoes, which even for a player like Turbo was not going to be an easy task. And for Devo and Remco as well, it was not going to be an easy task, blending in with Turbo when they've been playing with Maestro all year. But the 5 results that are noteworthy from RLCS Season 4 LAN, I've not included all the results because I don't think all of the teams at that LAN were top tier, or at least the very, very pinnacle of Rocket League competition. But the teams that were absolutely considered top tier and that Northern Gaming and Turbopolsa had results against were number 1, 0-3 against NRG, so terrible start, worst possible start they could have had. They just got swept by NRG's Fireburner, Jacob and Garrett G, and they had to go make the longest loser bracket run possible all the way from the beginning. But after a couple of easy wins against teams that we would never expect to put up a fight against Northern Gaming, we did see them run into the leftovers, which was Ferasnaski and Siki, and take them down 3-0, followed by a 4-1 revenge victory over NRG, who had just lost to Mocket in the winners finals. And then in the grand finals, they beat Mocket twice in a row, 2 best of 7s back to back, 4-2 first of all, and then 4-3 in the second best of 7. And the second best of 7, they had to fight back from 3-2 down, evade 2 match points for Mocket, and then take the W. So that was, of course, Turbopolsa, Devo, and Remco of Northern Gaming taking down K-Dot, Mystic, and Fairy Peak of Mocket in the closest RLCS final that we have ever seen. The only team that have gone from round 1 in the loser bracket and then won the tournament. And the team who finished off 3rd place at the previous 2 LANs finally getting their victory. So pretty cool all around to see that result happening. I was definitely pulling for them in the finals. Although, looking at the opponents, K-Dot, Mystic, and Fairy Peak, your heart has to go out to them. Fairy having one of the best debut seasons of all time. K-Dot getting so close yet so far, and just being such a solid player for a long time, carrying team after team. And finally looking like he has a shot to win, and just falling 1 game short twice. And of course Mystic, who just has had a heartbreaking RLCS history, getting replaced and benched, and making the final and losing in such a close fashion. But no matter what, I think we were going to be happy for someone here, and Turbopolsa did happen to come out on top, and it was really cool to see him get the Season 3 LAN win. The other thing that is worth mentioning, of course, I did, of course, in the Violent Panda video mention that he played the Universal Open tournament, the 2v2 tournament with K-Dot, not Turbo. Turbo did play that tournament alongside Mystic of Flipside Tactics, and they didn't make the LAN. So that is one result that Violent Panda had that was way better than Turbo, because of course getting the victory at the Universal Open is a lot better than not even qualifying. But Turbopolsa, despite not playing in the online portion, the group stage and playoff portion of Season 3, I'm sure all of you will agree that showing up to the LAN and actually winning in the fashion that they did is a much larger contribution to the year than winning a 2v2 tournament and coming 5th place in the online portion of RLCS Season 3, because that was the comparison between the direct comparison, at least between Violent Panda and Turbo, is that Panda had a Universal Open win and a 5th place RLCS Season 3. Turbo just had a 1st place RLCS Season 3, and I think that is head and shoulders above when you compare those two. But that, that's just what I think. If I do a really quick summary of results of the year, since I didn't go through all of the results one by one, I'll just give you the tournament summary. We've got that 1st place at RLCS Season 3 that we just talked about, 2nd place at DreamHack Summer, 2nd place at X Games, 2nd place at DreamHack Atlanta, 1st place at RLCS Season 4 Online, 5th place at Gnarly, 1st place at RLCS Season 4 LAN, and then 2nd place at E-League to cap it all off. That is Turbopolsa's year in a nutshell. The only thing, of course, that you missed out on was RLCS Season 4 Online, or Season 3 Online, and the Universal Open. So he missed out on two big tournaments, you could say, compared to Violent Panda's one big tournament, the RLCS Season 3 LAN, that he missed out on. But I've already explained that I think, even though you've got a 2-1 there in favour of Panda, I think that the one tournament, the RLCS Season 3 result that Turbo did get, the one that enabled him to become the 2-time world champion, winning Season 3 and 4 in 2017 alone, that as a single standalone achievement, I think is better than the Universal Open and 5th place RLCS Season 3 Online results. And when we talk about the win-loss total for Turbo throughout the year, he has 2 more games played than Violent Panda. He has 21 wins, 8 losses, rather than the 20 wins and 7 losses. And the reason for that is that Violent Panda, of course, played the 3 games in the Universal Open. They just, won all 3 of them in the Universal Open that Turbo didn't play, and then Turbo went 4 wins, 1 loss in series at the RLCS Season 4 Online. So again, I've got Turbo a little bit ahead there because their ratio is exactly the same, but Turbo played more games. Their wins minus losses is the same, but Turbo played more games. So although Panda's got a better ratio, Turbo has just been able to keep a higher win minus loss number, or the same win minus loss number after more series played, which I think is the key here. So I've got him at number 2 in my win-loss ranking, but he does fall to number 3 in my prize money ranking, right behind Violent Panda. He's in 3rd place at $66,750. Of course, miles ahead of JNaps, who's 4th with $37,379. So that's really one of the reasons why I had to put Panda and Turbo top 3, and there was no way I was going to let anybody else break them apart, get in between them. But yeah, that's my reasons for putting Turbo ahead of Panda. I'm not gonna talk about why I didn't put Turbo 1st place till my video tomorrow, which I'm sure a lot of you will be able to guess who the person in that video is going to be, and maybe you can already guess why I've decided to put that player ahead of Turbo. But I just to answer some of your questions and answer some of the comments that I know are going to happen in the comment section. I know a lot of people are going to say, how can Turbo not be 1st? He won 2 RLCS in 1 year. And to that I'll say, just come back and watch my video tomorrow on who I did put number 1, and I'll explain that in detail why I decided not to put Turbo at number 1. A lot of people are going to say, was it a clear-cut decision to put Turbo 2nd? Was it an easy decision? Because you said it was easy to put Violent Panda 3rd ahead of all of his competition below him. The answer is no, although I think it's very, very clear. I'll say yes and no. Yes, it was easy to put Turbo top 2. I think that his 2-time RLCS win is a way better result in 2017 when we compare the results between him and Panda than the 2v2 Universal Open tournament and then not making RLCS Season 3 LAN. So yes, it was easy to put him top 2, but it was very, very hard. I actually did have to put a lot of thought into my number 2 and number 1. So he's not 2nd by miles. He's not miles away from 1st place. Don't think that for a second. He's definitely very, very close. It was very difficult, but I will reserve all of my explanations to tomorrow's video, or else I'm going to end up repeating myself when I do record that. So hopefully that's okay. Hopefully you guys don't mind that. And yeah, of course, the last thing that I want to say about Turbo is I do give him a little bit of bonus credit for having lots of success on multiple lineups. Being able to we only saw a little bit of that in 2017, playing with Devo and Remco initially, and then switching it up and playing with Violent Panda K-Dub. That shows to me that he's ready to step in and adapt to his teammates and just make his teammates look better. I talked about that in some of my other videos. Players like Torment who just make their teammates look better. You need that in a team, and that's why one thing I really rate a lot about Turbo, one thing that made it really hard to put him second place, it almost had me putting him first, because I think he's the player on Gale Force Esports who's the best at that by a mile. He's way better than his teammates currently, in my opinion, at making his teammates look better. You know, just filling the gaps. You know, just when his teammates don't show up, he shows up and holds the fort until you know, they get time to recover, whether it be mentally or mechanically, and they can start playing at their best again. But yeah, that's another thing about Turbo. I think there's few players in the world like that. Like Fireburner, Torment is another one that I'd definitely put in that category. Turbopolsa is absolutely in that category. You know, Rizzo as well is someone I think is very good at that. And the other thing I will mention is I'm gonna, at the start of my next video for my number one, I will give a shout out to all my honorable mentions, which there are a few at the start of the video. So if you want to know who barely missed out, definitely come back tomorrow and see my number one video for number one player of 2017. But that's going to be it for Turbopolsa at number 2. Phenomenal year all round. I think if I could make it you know, my number one player, then this is like my number 1.1. That would have been much easier for me. But I had to make somebody number 2, and it has to be Turbo. I still think an incredible year. We're going to probably go years in Rocket League before we see another year this successful. And this is my number 2 player. I don't think even same could be said for Valentine. I don't think we're going to have a team be this dominant in one calendar year for a long time, because they just ruffle stomped it so much. But yeah, thanks guys once again for tuning in. Hopefully that was informative or enjoyable, or both, to some of you or to all of you. And I'll be back tomorrow with the final installment of the series, my number 1 player of 2017. So if you want to see that, I'll see you again tomorrow. And until then, thanks for watching and take care.